Welcome, everyone. We're here going to be having a quick chat on developing affordable housing on surplus church-owned property. Here with me is Paul Silvern, partner with HRNA. I'm Rodrigo Gonzalez. I'm managing partner with DEODATE, Corporate Real Estate Strategies, and also a member of the board of directors for the Our Lady Queen of Angels Housing Alliance, which is the launching housing authority for the Diocese of LA. So a little bit of background on my end, 17 years in this business, been leading DEODATE for the last 10 years. And effectively, we provide real estate strategies to governments, Fortune and Global 1000 companies, and corporate developers, not so much on the affordable side, mostly just traditional corporate real estate strategies. Archbishop Gomez called during the pandemic, asked me if I can be a part of the initial steering committee to kind of see if there was a there to put this housing authority together. And alongside some amazing people from the Smet Family Foundation, from the Specialty Family Foundation, and from the Diocese of Los Angeles, as well as many others, we were able to put something together. During that time, we understood that we needed a team to help us understand if we had a pilot project in hand. We wanted to understand what we were looking at, what constituted a good development proposal, and that's when we turned to Paul's great team at HRNA.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to Notre Dame University for hosting us as part of the program. I'm a partner with HRNA Advisors. We're a mission-driven private consulting firm that seeks to improve the life in cities for residents, businesses, and visitors all over North America and beyond. And we do that through providing a pretty unusually diverse set of practice areas that are anchored by our work in housing affordability, real estate advisory services, economic development, and public policy consulting. Our clients are public, private, institutional, and nonprofit. In our affordable housing practice, we focus primarily on plans and strategies, often and most often for public agencies, as well as the design of programs and regulations. And we do a significant amount of work on individual housing-related transactions, including helping Amazon implement a $2 billion equity fund that it has been investing in the places where it's headquartered, to help promote affordable housing in those communities. Rodrigo?
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to go over a couple of things of how this kind of came to be, right? And this was structured around a pilot project that I'm going to reference as Willowbrook. Willowbrook is a site that was being operated by Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities, as part of the Diocese of Los Angeles, graciously gave us this land to operate as a pilot project for the Housing Authority. This is an 18,000 more or less square foot lot enjoys tremendous density. It's in the northern part of the city of Los Angeles, directly across the street from Los Angeles Community College, which is a part of a 9-campus Los Angeles Community College District school system, right? It's near Metro, so it has, I think it's a TOC, Transit-Oriented Communities, TOC 4, right? So it's super high density. So on these 18,000 square feet, we were able to fit 94 units on it. At some point, we got proposals for 140, believe it or not, so we scaled it back a bit. But we wanted to understand if there was a there. Thankfully, we had Wade Killefer as part of our advisory board, who is a legendary affordable housing architect, who put together a sort of 2-pager RFP, because our initial thought was, hey, listen, let's take this to market and let's see what the development community provides, right? What will they do and what kind of proposals will they put together for us? At that time, we were figuring out what we wanted to do as an organization, or what kind of housing authority we wanted to put together. And that is when HRNA's expertise came to play, because we really didn't have the internal capacity. We had a lot of real estate developers and folks with real estate expertise on the committee, but we really didn't have the expertise to understand, is that a good affordable housing proposal or not?
And we understand that when we're working with institutional clients, whether it's school districts, colleges, universities, or church groups, that real estate development, of course, is not their core responsibility. And so what we try to do is tailor our services to address their particular needs. And as illustrated on the slides, we have a pretty wide range of services that we offer to our clients, beginning with everything related to project conceptualization, to market analysis, financial analysis, and working through all the other steps necessary to get from the project idea to its conceptualization. And for the public and institutional clients, again, for whom real estate development is not their core service, we have quite a bit of experience managing and running competitive developer selection processes so that those clients can select a private part, or not, in many cases nonprofit partner in the case of affordable housing development, in order to advance the mission that they have for their surplus property. And as Rodrigo said, in this particular case, rather than starting at the beginning, we came in more towards the end. The Alliance team had issued a very thin two-page request for proposals to 4 previously identified development potential partners who had been identified on their behalf by the local United Way. But because the request for proposals was as brief as it was, what happened was that the Alliance group received 4 completely different proposals from these developers. 2 of the proposals were by well-recognized nonprofit affordable housing developers working in the LA metro market. 1 was from a private developer who builds mixed income housing using several different financial techniques, and 1 was from a completely different kind of developer that builds a more unusual type of apartment living. And so one of the challenges that the Alliance team had at that point was, how do you make sense out of these apples and oranges that came to them in the form of the responses? And so what we spent a fair amount of time doing is doing a preliminary round of analysis of the proposals that had been submitted, and trying to array them in a common framework across all the dimensions that are typically important for a client like the Alliance to understand, looking at the scale of development, the design, the experience of the prospective development partner, and what they were offering in terms, in this case, of a long-term ground lease for the site. So we prepared a pretty detailed initial analysis, and then in our meetings with Rodrigo and his colleagues on the Alliance team, sort of walked through a whole series of considerations, and in some cases going back to sort of first principles that, had we been involved in the process from the very beginning, we might have helped alert them to, but which came into play only somewhat after the fact, when they actually saw the proposals that were being provided. And again, because the 4 proposals were so uneven, one of the first things that we did after the initial analysis was to, on behalf of the Alliance, is to go back to all 4 developers and ask for a resubmittal of more information about their experience, their financial proposal, and certain other things, in order to get a more even set of information across all 4 of the proposals, in order to make the work of selecting one of them more even and responsible. And in the course of doing that, 2 of the 4 dropped out for various reasons, and then the Alliance was left with 2 very good proposals, one by the for-profit developer and one by a highly experienced local nonprofit developer, but still there were fairly significant differences between them. And so in the course of doing a second round of detailed evaluation of the surviving proposals, what came to light is that the Alliance team was beginning to realize that there were certain things about going through the nonprofit affordable housing development route that caused some concerns for the Archdiocese leadership and for the Alliance team working on their behalf. There were three basic issues that kind of came up. One was there was some disappointment with the amount of the ground lease offer. Second was the Alliance began to realize that because the proposals were likely to use low-income housing tax credits and various other kinds of state financial resources, that there would inevitably be limitations on tenant selection because of federal fair housing laws, which prevent the sponsor from targeting who they want to attract, never mind the fact that the Alliance and the Archdiocese were very interested in serving diocesan populations and adjacent community college students. But there are complications in aligning those two things. And then the third was just a better understanding of how long it takes for an affordable housing project to be packaged and get under construction and tenanted because of the complexity of assembling all the different elements of what we refer to as the capital stack, which are all the sources of funds necessary to put the project together, some of which have to go through a highly competitive process with either the low-income housing tax credits or some of the other public funding sources. So in the end, as Rodrigo will talk about next, the Alliance and the Archdiocese decided to take a different route, but in parallel with that, the next thing that we did to assist them was to help them develop some guidance on how to recruit a full-time executive director who would help them manage a new affordable housing development strategy. And that part of the process is now going into its final phases.
Thank you, Paul. And I think, look, that process was instrumental in us figuring out not so much what we wanted, but what we didn't want in putting together a housing alliance that looked different from what was out there. And all things being equal, we wanted to make sure that we addressed diocesan, workforce, teachers, that we had the flexibility and that we were nimble enough to be able to scale quickly. Affordable housing and quickly don't go together as a term, right? I mean, they take a long time. But I think being able to recalibrate, and we thought about it, we talked about it extensively, and we thought we're gonna pull the RFPs back and we're gonna self-develop. And in order to do that, we expanded. I think the past panel was important in making sure that you're adequately resourced as a diocese, making sure you have the right team in place to understand what you want and what you don't want to do, and then transition to having the technical folks come in to now, how are you going to structure the alliance correctly? I mean, we have Joe Womack, that's part of our board, and he went through this in Seattle, and he helped us structure this in a way that it is separate, but in alignment with the diocese, that it gives us sovereignty to be able to go out there and build our own capital stack. And also what we're looking to do is put together the first 3 projects with all equity, some philanthropic debt, but not your traditional LIHTC funding, to be able to roll those up and apply more market dynamics to scale in that way. That worked for us because LA is it's an oversaturated area for affordable housing development, and also it's in steep competition for LIHTC type of funding, right? So we needed to differentiate in that sense, and also we needed speed to market, and that's worked for us. To the point about the executive director, likewise, we're, God willing, maybe I think next year for sure, this new executive director will be here with us. And the way we approached that interview process was, do they have affordable housing know-how, but do they also have market development experience? Because we needed to gain from those efficiencies if we're truly looking to do things differently, right? So this process that HRNA helped us with was instrumental in that, right? We understood, and we had a real-time market understanding of what developers were willing to bear at that time. And we thought that's not scalable to the degree that the largest diocese in the country should be aiming to develop, right?
So I think the process, I think was very instrumental in helping the Archdiocese consider exactly how it wanted to pursue this unusual undertaking. And I think the experience that we're describing here echoes many of the comments that you heard from other panelists earlier in the day about the need to really think deeply and clearly about the undertaking, how it relates to the, in this case, diocesan mission, and to get, good, well-rounded advice about the complexities of undertakings like this early in the process, and perhaps next time, the bumps in the road that occurred in this case might be avoided. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Taylor Kay, who's with us today, helping us with our slides, but more importantly, she was a key member of our analytic team in the work that we did with Rodrigo and his colleagues.
So with that, guys, I mean, I do want to open it up for any questions that you guys may have. I think they give us exactly 37 seconds for questions, so you let us know what we can get through.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, thanks very much. Just a quick question. Could you explain the sort of legal arrangement between the Alliance and the Archdiocese? Did you say it was a land lease for the actual property itself?
We on that particular site, we will be taking it in fee, right? I think from a structural standpoint of the Alliance itself, and I'll let Joe kind of chime in if you're open to it. But our board is made up with the Archbishop as the head of the Alliance, the Vicar General as part of the board, the head of real estate for the diocese, which is Mike Davitt, and then there's 3 appointed positions, and there's a few others. And what we wanted to do is create alignment and also quick path of travel for decision making, right? With a bureaucratic institution, respectfully, which is the diocese, right? And it's worked, right? I think having Mike there, he knows the portfolio intimately, so we're able to get instant feedback for it. Joe, anything else?
Well handled. I'll just say that so that the Alliance is separately incorporated but church related. There's ex officio spots for the Archbishop, the Director of Property of the Diocese, but it also has at-large spots. I sit in one of those. Rodrigo's the president of the board. He sits in one of those. The diocese will deed the property over to the new nonprofit. So that it will have the property, and then it will own it, and then perhaps master lease units out to related partners.
Without using LIHTC, how did you create the capital stack?
Well, the one private developer was proposing basically doing a more middle income tenancy rather than, somewhere between 30 and 60% of area median income, which is the sweet spot for most low-income housing tax credit projects. This particular developer was going to concentrate on 100% moderate income households for which there are no public subsidies of any meaningful amount. And they were going to use a combination of private bank debt and a couple of other sources that didn't involve any public subsidies.
Now we're looking at in addition to that, as it evolved, foundation dollars as part of the equity, strategic relationships with other foundations to provide perhaps below market debt on it for the construction debt, and also even potentially we've been talking to our relationship bank for CRA dollars as well, with the hopes of at some point, once we get to 2 or 3, maybe 4 projects. John Smith isn't here, but he's a muni bond guru. Package them up, refinance them, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, the other difference with the private developer's proposal, if I remember the numbers right, they were proposing something like 148 units as opposed to all the other proposals that were sort of in the 40 to 80 unit range. So they were proposing a much denser project at a higher, essentially a higher rent level, and that's how they made the numbers work.
We also had cost savings of 30% in not going through prevailing wage or things like that on the construction side.
Well, thank you both.